I'm going to come in here and then just be a student. And what I'm going to do is I'm a student here. I have an assignment that's been assigned to me. And what I want to do is I want to come to my assignment and I see here that it says build Unit 4, build your course structure. I have read the assignment on my syllabus, but I also have it here. I'm going to go ahead and review that. And what I want to do is I want to click on my Unit 4, build your course structure. This is going to go ahead and give me my date and my points possible, and again, my instructions again. And then what happens is this is just to let you know, I did not put that this was a SafeAssign assignment. I probably would have normally put that here in the title. I would have said this is a SafeAssign assignment. I'm going to get language that says, by submitting this, you agree you are submitting to be used and stored as part of the SafeAssign services in accordance with the policy. So this is just letting this know, students know that it is going to be checked for plagiarism. Additionally, oh, I clicked on the wrong button. Additionally, I'm going to have some language that says what kind of documents that are submitted in SafeAssign. Now, most of the time you are doing DOC Word documents, PowerPoints. It also checks for PDFs. It can scan different types of documents. Other formats other than the ones listed here will not be checked. So if someone was doing some type of computer type file, that wouldn't be available. Yep, go ahead.
Now, this is your language, or does this automatically come up when you check the box for SafeAssign?
It automatically comes up. So this is the difference. If this was a regular assignment, this language would not be there. But because I chose to make it a SafeAssign, it does give the students some preparation that it's going to be checked. So that's just, I just want to make sure people know that. Now, as a student, I'm going to go ahead and I have my paper here. And I want to find my paper. Now, I'm not going to write my submission for this. I'm going to go ahead and browse my computer. Now, I have usually a paper on plagiarism here. I got to find it in the list of all of my papers. So I have a paper called Plagiarism Example. Now, the one awkward thing about this particular paper is every time I do my workshop, I use this particular one. So it will flag me as using a paper that already has been submitted. But I do want to share with you and show you what this looks like. Now, my paper that I wrote is a paper on plagiarism that I plagiarized. I went to various websites, various sources, and I took a lot of information. Some of that information I properly cited. And then some of that information I improperly cited and cut and paste in there. The stuff that I put in there, I properly wrote. So like when I have this paper, and I can show that to you in a second. So when I have that paper, I actually properly block quoted in APA. I did my formatting properly. Now it will like scan, and it will not necessarily check things that have been like cited properly, but it will throw out anything as a concern. So if there's a concern, regardless of its citation or if it's been plagiarized and taken from someplace, it usually will flag large portions of of text. Now, in this case, I'm a student, I'm submitting my example. I have the ability to remove it before I submit it, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to submit my paper. Now, once I submit my paper, it's going to tell me, what happens is when students turn anything into Blackboard, they get an indicator that tells them that they did it. There's going to be a green bar or a bar at the top that says success. Your paper has been submitted and the submission confirmation number is available to you. Also, that by turning this in, their submission window changed. They no longer get that window that lets them submit the paper. They get this window where their paper is going to be shown on the screen, and then they're going to get an information about SafeAssign. They're going to tell me my paper is late because my due date was 10:30, and then I can also see what I turned in. And because I'm allowed to have multiple submissions, I have a button here that does allow me to start new and come back to that screen. If I cancel out of it, I can always just come back in here, but it's always going to return me to my submission page when I come back into that assignment. And I have to start by hitting start new. Now, I checked, I wanted my student to see. So Kyle, instructor Kyle, went ahead and said, let my students see their report. So when my student sees that there's a 100 all match, what's going to happen is that student can see this, what we call an originality report. Now, depending on whatever tool you use, an originality report is telling you how much of the paper has original content versus a match to material that has been taken elsewhere. Now, in this case, I already have a paper turned in this particular class. It's telling me that I turned in a paper that is 100% plagiarized as a student. Okay. Usually people don't give their students the ability to see their originality report, so I wouldn't normally see this as a student. So as a student, I'm sitting here, I'm waiting for my faculty member to grade my paper, and I can see my report here, but I have to wait now. So I'm going to take my student hat off, and I'm going to stop being in my student preview, and I'm going to come over to Blackboard, and I'm going to look at this from the instructor side. So I exit my preview in this circumstance. As a faculty member, I'm going to go ahead and I have two options. I can come to needs grading, or I can come to the grade center. And what I'm going to do is, for the purpose of this, I'm just going to show you needs grading. You'll see here, needs grading tells me that Kyle Kraus turned in a paper on July 4th, and it's late at 10:33. If I want to grade it, I just click on Kyle's name. If I'm in my grade center, I come to my full grade center here, and what I can do is I can find the particular assignment, which is going to be all the way at the end now, and I can look for the exclamation point, and that's also going to tell me that my paper needs to be graded. Oh, sorry, my screen went funny. So if I want to grade this paper here, I would just go ahead and click the downward arrow and click on the attempt. So when I click on the attempt, this is also going to take me to the same place as my needs grading area. So one is just telling me who's turned papers in. The grade center is giving me the entire assignment with all my students. So if you want something that just narrows out who's turned something in, that's why you go to needs grading. If you're saying, I want to just see the column and everyone who has or hasn't, I come to my grade center. I'm going to go ahead and click on my attempt. And on my screen, it's going to look identical almost to my student's paper in terms of the interface. I get the student's paper on the screen, I get a grade area, and I get my SafeAssign information that I can click on. I can click on, and this is going to tell me that there's a report available to tell me how much student material has been taken. The difference between the student view of an assignment and the faculty view of the assignment is that the faculty member has these features in Blackboard that lets them write directly on the screen. So when I'm in Blackboard, I have these bars, the menu bar across the top. When I click on that menu bar, this allows me to have a pen, a brush, or an eraser, and I can go ahead and I can change my brush stroke or my color. And what I can do is I can actually highlight parts of my paper. I can also, in terms of an image, I can insert an image on my student's paper. I can also add a text box onto the paper. And so this just lets me, without ever downloading the paper, give feedback to my student right on the page. So if I'm using it as a regular on the page. So I have the ability to basically mark up my student's page or track changes to some degree right on the paper, and I never have to download this paper. I can just do it on the screen and leave it at that. And I can erase things if I want to at any point. Let me do the eraser tool, just because that's a big blob there. And I can go ahead and erase any part of this that I want to. So I have the feedback. So that's the biggest difference in the assignment tool. Just letting you know that's how you would grade that there. But I also have this side here to give them feedback. What I can do here is I can view my originality report. I can give them feedback. I can download this paper. So for example, if I want to have this on my desktop, I want to keep a copy of it, I do have the download button available. And that's just to let you know that that is available to you. Now, getting into the plagiarism piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my originality report, and I want to just make sure you are seeing my screen. Yep, okay. So this is telling me, welcome to the new originality report. So this looked a little bit differently about a month ago, so they streamlined this window for you. And they've added different controls and different pieces of information. And so this aligns with kind of a design aesthetic that's available. Now, what will happen is that on the screen, this is your report. Your report is going to highlight, so the student's paper is on the left-hand side, and it's going to highlight various sections that have been taken from other sources. The right-hand side is going to tell you what sources that is. So right now, the institutional database is telling me that this particular paper has been turned in previously. So if I am doing drafts and I get this, I'm at least knowing that this part of the paper has been checked already. It also is telling me that 6% of the paper comes from the internet, and it was taken from Walden University, or it says Walden U here. If you notice, the color matches the number and of what's been taken. So I have the ability to look through here and say, oh, okay, this section has been taken from the class. What I want to do is I see that this section isn't in the article. This is in the institutional database. I can determine where that information is coming from. If I want to exclude, for example, my paper here, I have the ability to take the highlighting off at any point. I have the ability to see where the opening match source is. So this will take me to the other paper or other version of my paper. And I have ability to dismiss this match. If I do that, what's going to happen is it's going to take away that submission, and it's going to tell me that only 6% of this paper is potentially plagiarized. I want to now see what that 6% is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that middle button that says Open Matching Source, and this is going to take me to the exact location where that language was taken. I indeed did go to Walden University's website and take this section from the paper. So this is actually, I'm telling people, like, in terms of, I made a paper on plagiarism, I plagiarized, I'm telling you that I actually did go to this university and take this, and the system actually found it on the internet. So that's just letting you know, like, I felt like, I was like, yeah, I did do this. And I mean, students might not admit that right away, but I'm saying, yep, I did go to this website. I did take this exact phrase. I did not cite it or fix it or anything. I just took it straight from the window. Now, if you look here, it says view summary. There's a summary that says this is at high risk. It's telling me it's at high risk because I already had this paper turned in right now, but I have a report that gives me feedback on what the likelihood of that is. Now, hypothetically, what if I want this checked again without that 94% in there? I can go ahead and click on refresh report. When I hit for refresh report, it's going to re-look at it and it's going to exclude that other paper. And it'll give me a warning, and it says, by submitting this, you will return to your submission, and this might take a few minutes. But what that's going to do is it's going to recheck this paper to see if any other part of that paper was plagiarized. So I'm going to go ahead and hit on submit, and it says it's being reprocessed. So I have to return back to Blackboard, back to my paper, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to refresh my page. And it's going to tell me that my paper is still report in progress. It's going ahead and I'm saying, okay, I want this paper to be checked again. I removed the part that I didn't want to be reviewed because its biggest part of plagiarism, it was taken from actually someone else's paper. I want the paper to be rescanned so that I can see if any other pieces of that section were potentially taken from elsewhere. Then what I can do is I'm going to keep refreshing this page. And like I said, it takes a couple of seconds. I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and it still says that it's in progress, and it might take a few minutes. As I mentioned before, I'm going to go ahead and at this point, I can wait for that plagiarism piece. I could leave feedback for the student. What I normally tell people is when you look at the plagiarism report, in APA, when you have something that is more than a sentence or two, you are supposed to use a block quote. And this, what I like to tell people is that this right here isn't appropriate. So what I did do is I appropriately took from sources. Like, for example, this section that says Bella Grip, academic encompasses the use. I plagiarized some of this paper, but some of this I took from the internet, but I properly cited. So the system isn't necessarily going to pull up all of this if it is properly cited, because that's how it should be. But it also might flag it just in case. It's your decision to determine what was improperly cited, what was poor writing, and what was a complete fabrication or plagiarism. Let me go ahead and do this again. Now I come back in and my match says that it's a 38% match. And I'm going to come now back into my report. Let me go back in and I'm going to review my report. Now what it is saying to me is that there are 3 sections that the internet has identified potentially as a source of academic dishonesty and plagiarism. This tells me that section 1 was taken from a thing called projects topics. Number 4 was still Walden U. Number 3 was Wikipedia. And number 1 was there. Number two was actually taken from it, and it's still saying another person's paper. So it is saying that this is still coming from someone else's paper, and just letting me know but that was properly cited. It's not actually improperly done. Okay. Then, and if you notice here, Steinbeck wrote the novel to address moral degeneration of the American culture. That, again, I directly stole from Wikipedia, and I know that I did. And I would be able to come over here as a faculty member, click on the middle button, and it's going to give me the Wikipedia entry that it took it from. It's not capable of highlighting it, so I'll be able to look at it, but it's telling me where my source is. So I have the ability to eliminate any matches. I have the ability to look through anything. I want to go to this project topics one. This one is going to say, oh, I have another, this was another wiki called project topic, and I stole that from there too. And yep, I did that too. So it actually does a really great job of searching the internet and going over that. And I know that Pat has asked this of me before, and some people have asked me is, when do I get concerned? That's what this report summary is doing me, is telling me that this paper is at a medium risk for plagiarism, and it includes extensive quoted or paraphrased material that may include plagiarism. This is why the system is going to highlight things, and you're the one who's going to have to say it was improperly cited or it was plagiarized. Students, and I tell people this, I remember being in college and I had to learn both MLA and APA at the same time. And I used to tell people, I understand the stress of being a student because I had English and I had health. And I had 2 different types of citations. And still to this day, I don't remember, does the period go before the parentheses or after the parentheses on a particular type of quote? So I usually tell people that's why the system doesn't tell you automatically that it is plagiarized, is because sometimes a student wrote something, they appropriately used the material, paraphrased or whatever, but then wrote in the sentence properly. The piece to this is that you get to determine yourself if this is a plagiarized piece of content. But it will give you an average match, it will give you some information, and then on that other section, this right-hand side is the data that gives you more statistical information. Now, say that you want to have this as a record, you want to display this. If for some reason you want to take this and actually make this a case, if the student repeatedly does this, you want to actually move this forward as an academic concern and go into academic affairs. You have the ability at the top of the report to download this report or to print it out. So you do have the option of being able to keep a track of a record of this offline. And in this case, if I clicked on download, it would ask me what it would, and it would give me my report. It would tell me my word count. It would write the report for me. And it sits here and it actually breaks this apart. And I'll just print, let me just print this. That might be kind of, oh, I didn't need to actually print it. Let me cancel that. It's not going to help you. You can't see me printing something. What I'm going to do is actually come back in here. I'm going to go ahead and download this, but I actually want to show it as a PDF on the screen. So my report printed out, if I need to demonstrate this for any reason. There we go. My report, if I want to, I don't want to find it. I want to make it a little bigger. My report is going to give me my information. It's going to give me a summary. It's going to highlight that section of the paper. It tells me, number 1, it tells me my original source, and it goes through the whole paper and then tells me what the student put in. And then it actually does pull in the exact stated address, right there. It's actually highlighting that and tell me that right there. So this report gives you a little bit more specific information on your originality report. So I think it's an incredibly helpful tool. And I think that even if you use it just to kind of for your own sense of self, to get a sense of plagiarism, people's writing skills, writing styles, that also writing skills, that also is very helpful. But you have a lot of control over determining what is poor writing, what is citation, what is a violation of plagiarism, and this just acts as the means to generate that data for you. And I think it really is a great tool. And like I said, it actually is giving me institutional database. If I click on this one, it actually is showing me the other paper that this was taken from, and it's telling me that I turned this in on April 10th, 2019. So this was a paper that I did for a workshop back in April 10th of 2019. So it's actually pulling that up. But it is telling me it's me. So that's kind of a good thing. So that's how to create assignments. That's how SafeAssign works. And this is going to be how that whole process kind of plays out.